The Spurs and the Thunder rematch in Thursday night's game, and LaMarcus Aldridge in that Thursday night game put up a career-high 56 points. Spurs hit their first 14 three-pointers.
Wow.
And tonight we get an encore between those two teams. Oh, man, this should be an exciting one. What are you looking most forward to seeing, Griff?
Well, I think it's fascinating that since December 1st, OKC was the second best, most efficient defensive team in the league, and San Antonio had been seventh in that span. And then they play the first game of this series and go 154-147. So there was no defense played whatsoever. I think it's going to be fascinating to see if OKC can do a better job of containing the post game of San Antonio, because I really felt like that got all of their shooters rolling a little bit.
And I'm glad you were talking about that because you're getting pretty good at this media thing. That's a perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about. I see what you're doing here.
It's a pass.
Yes, it is. It's an assist, something that LaMarcus Aldridge isn't known to do in his career, and that is what I think that the OKC Thunder need to do as far as guarding LaMarcus. You want to show him different looks, force him into being a passer, whether that's giving him a crowded lane where you fake the double or make the lane look very, very crowded and do not come, or sometimes you want to just double him on catch or double him on first dribble. Mix up the coverages, front the post, force them to throw the ball over the top and double them in that aspect. San Antonio is capable of hitting threes, but they don't take a lot of threes. But what we do know is that if you let LaMarcus play one-on-one, he is capable of having big nights. And last time these two teams played, he had 56 big points. I think OKC has to diversify their portfolio in the way they cover LaMarcus. They have to throw 3 to 4 different looks at him.
And it annihilated the smaller Jeremy Grant when Steven Adams was out as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Steven Adams, he is going to play, and that's a big thing for the Thunder because he's a strong presence in. Just looking at that box score, seeing a guy like Terrence Ferguson, 21 points, 7-12 from the field. We keep saying with Oklahoma City, if they just had that third guy, right? Jeremy Grant also with a really good game. Of those players, do you trust them to continue to excel and get better? Do you think that those guys have a higher ceiling?
Well, I think Jeremy Grant is almost among a very elite group of people in this league. There are 5 position defenders. They've used Jeremy Grant on everybody from 1s to 5s. And there are times like LaMarcus Aldridge where he's just too small to handle someone in the post, but he's having a career year. But I could be in the minority. I've always thought of them as a big 3. Even last year I thought of them as a big 3. It's just Steven Adams is the third in that group for me. At a bare minimum, he is a truly elite role player at a bare minimum, in very much the same way that Draymond Green is for Golden State.
I think he's a high-level role player. I don't really see him in that big 3 because when I think of the big 3, I think of 3 really, really super dynamic offensive guys most of the time. Like when I think of, Golden State's big 3, I think of Clay, Steph, and Durant. When I think of OKC, I think of the big 2, and I think of Steven Adams being a super, super duper role player who plays his role to the best of his abilities. And so that's why I view him at. But to go to your point about shooting, I do think they still need an elite shooter. I like what Grant has done. I think he's improved a lot. To your point, Griff, he is a guy that plays tremendous defense and probably the most versatile defender in the league. But when you talk about a playoff series, and you talk about teams shrinking the floor against Paul George and Russell Westbrook, they're going to give guys like Ferguson, Grant, Schroeder all the jumpers they can handle, because if you're a team, you're saying, hey, I know Paul George is good enough to beat me. I know Russell Westbrook is good enough to beat me. But I don't know if Ferguson can hit 3 out of 7 jump shots 7 games in a row in the series. I don't know if a guy like Schroeder, who's an excellent driver and gives them good minutes, I don't know if he can beat me consistently from the perimeter, and that is what teams will try to do, kind of similar to how OKC was built before Durant left, and they would make the guys like Robertson and Dion Waiters beat them because you know that you don't know, but you'll live with those guys beating you. I think they need a shooter.
Well, looking at their front line, Steven Adams with the ankle issue, he will play again tonight. But how do you view their depth? Let's say, for instance, you see him go down with the ankle. If he has an issue late in the season or if he gets into foul trouble in the game, what do you think of their depth up front?
Well, I like what Nerlens Noel brings, and hopefully he'll be back soon. We're hoping he gets a speedy recovery. That was a gruesome hit that he took. But I think Nerlens Noel gives them a little something behind Steven Adams. I like the way he's played this year. He's solid. He's not Steven Adams. He's not on his level, but he can give them something on the inside so they have a little bit of a post presence when Steven Adams isn't playing.
Patrick Patterson absolutely was not an answer for them the other night on LaMarcus Aldridge. The fewer minutes he can play in this particular matchup, the better. But again, in the absence of Nerlens Noel, they really don't have anything behind Steven Adams.
Certainly Steven Adams, you see him moving nicely, looking like he's going to be able to perform tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder as they face the San Antonio Spurs. That last game on Thursday night, instant classic. What's going to happen tonight? We're going to find out in a few minutes.